You have landed on the video that I believe to be definitively the best icebreaker and form of team building, and that is connection before content. Think of this video as like a miniature master's degree in connection before content. And so I'm gonna teach you the kind of the why, how, what of connection before content. I'm gonna share some strategies with you, and I'm gonna end by pointing you toward a kit with 100 plus like low-hanging fruit right in front of you ideas to be able to make that connection before content happen in whatever context you are in, whatever events you are planning, and whatever meetings you're hosting. So if you choose to watch halfway through this video, you'll have half of a master's degree, which is about half good in the real world. And so my invite is, if you landed on this video and you don't have the time to really set in and learn, that's okay. Take the link and plop it somewhere in your calendar where you do, because the short bit of time that you will spend here will fundamentally change the beginning of every gathering you have the minute this video is done. So here's the idea. I first heard this phrase, connection before content, from Peter Block. He's an author hero of mine. He's 84 now. He won't actually give up where he got it from. I don't know if he invented it or picked it up. Either way, I don't think a good idea really cares who it belongs to. And so the idea here is that without relatedness, no real work can occur. That's a Peter Blockism. Without relatedness, no real work can occur. And if you want real work to occur and you want to make a difference, Peter and I would very much argue that change happens in small groups. So thinking about your context, if you're hosting an event or any sort of gathering, typically the format and the cadence of meetings is somebody gets up, maybe if they're thoughtful, they share an agenda of what they're gonna do. Maybe there's a report out, people are going around and sharing, or introductions one by one. And all of that fails completely to create relatedness. It's focused on content before connection. Most meeting formats, including large conferences, nearly always put content before connection. Thanks to our sponsors, here's the agenda of what we're gonna do. This is what we gotta talk about or get done today. And the idea is not to start out with an icebreaker, right? This is not, connection before content is not cross out, slash the word icebreaker out of your vocabulary. I'm on a mission to just gently eradicate the word icebreaker from the planet, because I think connection before content is a whole heap more intentional. And here's the difference. An icebreaker might be, hey everybody, before we get started, let's all go around and introduce ourselves. I think you're killing connection in that moment, because what happens is everybody's just thinking about themselves as they go around. Connection before content would say the value proposition for connection before content is that it also connects to the purpose of why you are actually there. So in a minute, I'm gonna share some core strategies that anybody can pick up with zero props and very, very little effort to create this culture of connection before content, to build relationships of trust over time in a sustainable way, to actually build teams not in a one-day offsite, but over and throughout the course of the year, just weaved right into the cadence of what you're already doing without taking a lot of time. But before that, let me tell you about this little study done at Johns Hopkins. So Johns Hopkins was running a study among surgical teams, figuring out how to reduce errors and medical errors and deaths in surgical teams. So they tried all these different interventions. One of the interventions was they didn't call it connection before content, but what they did is they had the group stand in a circle and just share their first name and if they had any concerns for the surgery that day. They didn't go around and say, hey, would you share what your favorite color M&M is? Right? It connected to the purpose of why they were actually there. And in the groups that actually just did that very simple intro, connection before content, medical errors and deaths were vastly reduced, which means less people got gauze sewn up in them, less people died on the table. Now, most of you watching this, maybe all of you watching this, are not surgeons, but I would say that every time you host a meeting or gathering, it is at risk of dying. And what I'm about to tell you, I believe, has the potential to save and salvage and revive your gatherings, whether you're an established team that's worked together for 10 years or you're a brand new forming group trying to get it going. So first, the 3 ingredients for connection before content, and then the mechanics. The 3 ingredients are, you gotta connect to each other. Shocker. But if you're, you're trying to mix up for your team that day and you found a funny cat video and you want to play it for everybody, your whole remote team before you get started, interesting, maybe funny, not connection before content, because it doesn't actually allow interaction between humans. So ideally, connection before content is happening in groups of 3. So if you've got a meeting of 6, that means split the meeting out and have a moment in those small groups. Because remember, 2 seconds ago, change happens, change occurs in small groups. So number one, connect to each other. Number two, and this is what most icebreakers miss, is you've got to connect to the purpose of that gathering. If you're meeting to review the draft website that you're hoping to launch for your new business, the tendency is to be like, let's get in the website, show me the website. Without relatedness, no real work can occur. So I would say take even 2 seconds beforehand and just say, what is one of, we're about to see the website we're about to launch to the world. I'm curious, just in the last 2 weeks of your life, what is one website that really stuck out to you? And what do you remember about it? It'd be a beautiful way to connect before content that also relates to the purpose of your gathering. And then the third one, and this is often missed. This is why especially introverts, more engineer-minded people tend to get hives and break out when they hear the word icebreaker, is because it doesn't include number 3, which is the choice for authenticity and vulnerability, not the mandate, right? So what would be a terrible icebreaker, and one of the most common ones, is everybody go around and share an interesting fact about yourself. Or even worse, 2 truths and a lie. In my opinion, there's not enough choice and autonomy in either of those, because the format is you've got to share in front of the large group. And so the idea of saying like, pass, I don't want to share, in a group of 12 people that you're meeting for the first time, there's so much social pressure to not pass that it actually removes your agency and choice to participate. And that kills engagement, that kills relatedness. It creates a really unhealthy culture of participation. And yeah, for sure at work, we're used to it to some degree. Even people who get hives at the idea of doing that, they just do it because it's what we do. And I'm suggesting right now in this moment, as you're watching this video, you don't have to ever do that again, because it's such a more choiceful environment and less threatening environment if you're in groups of 3. If you're in a group of 12, that's public speaking. If you're in a group of 3, it's like having a conversation with somebody. Now I'm gonna share the lowest effort and perhaps the most impactful way or mechanics to do connection before content right now. And right after that, I'm gonna share, let's see, that 9 connection building activities and strategies with you as well. So here's the mechanics. You tap into your curiosity, and you just imagine now your meetings from now on just start with one question, rooted in your natural curiosity that connects to the purpose of why you're there. You take that one question, and let's say you're in a group of 12. I might say something to the group like, hey, our time is really valuable. Every minute that we spend together is 12 minutes of human attention. And so to make the most of our time, I'm gonna actually invite us to split up into groups of 3, whether remotely or in person, breakouts, or just turn to a couple people next to you, and just have a 5 to 7 minute conversation about this question. And the question could be, what is something you're intending to achieve, and what about that is important? It could be, what's an experience with a website in the last 2 months where you remember something particularly cool or neat about that website. It could be, what's one of your favorite topics of conversation? Could be, what's something taking up lots of your brain space right now that might influence this project we're about to talk about, right? So something that connects to each other and connects to the purpose of why you're there. 5 to 7 minutes in truples. Bring everybody back and ask them one of my absolute favorite questions. Really simple. What struck you about those conversations? The reason that's one of my favorite questions is I think it's one of the most inclusive questions on the planet, because if I asked you, if you came back from those conversations and I asked you, what did you think about those conversations? People who tend to process the world through logic and data and reason are going to have an answer, brain-centered answer. If I asked you, how'd you feel about those conversations? People who tend to experience the world through heart and story and emotion are going to have a response. Whereas if I ask you what struck you about those conversations, I'm leaving it open enough for anybody to share, but more importantly, the types of answers that you get to what struck you about that conversation are going to be about process. Very rarely are people going to share about the content of what they actually talked about. They're going to share, I was really surprised about what everybody shared. I was really amazed at how open people were. I was amazed at the similarities amongst the group, right? And when they're sharing that, they're like setting the tone and the culture for the rest of the meeting, right? So this is like 6 minutes that drastically impacts the next 60 minutes. Now at the beginning of this video, I promised that I was gonna share a whole kit with 100+ at the ready icebreakers, team building, etc. And so I'd like to unbox and share some of that with you, knowing that there is, some of these tools that I'm gonna unpack with you have free printable versions that you can access somewhere around here. And then obviously the kit is an actual box that has to be mailed to you. So the first one, these 9 connection strategies, the way that I've designed this, think about like a connection before content masterclass. And it is kind of like a miniature practical online course where each one of these QR codes leads to an exercise. In the bottom corner, this is kind of hard to hold this map. In the bottom of this grid are things that are both low risk and low time. So think like sentence completions. So you show up and you just give in the sentence, hey, right now, can you just, one word, can you just fill in this sentence? Right now, I'm curious about blank. You could even say, related to the topic of this meeting, I'm curious about blank. So, right, very low risk, very low time. And then it goes up, a little bit higher risk, higher engagement, and a little bit longer and more time. So you have 9 different strategies that are applicable both in remote, hybrid, and in-person context, all sitting right here. And then the other bits in the kit, and by the way, as I am showing you this, probably shouldn't say this in a video like this, but I don't actually care if you buy this kit. I'm showing it to you because this is my life's work packed into a box. I have facilitated workshops and keynotes with way over 100,000 plus people at some of the top organizations and events in the world. And I've just learned what a lot of things that don't work and a lot of things that work really well. And I packed the best of that into one kit. And so I want to take 90 seconds of your time to unbox this kit and show you what's inside. And you decide if it's a fit for your context and it would help you create some connection, belonging, and trust. I would invite you to consider getting the kit because it's awesome. But if it's not a fit, cool, just watch a fun unboxing video. And I'm glad we met here. So my whole mission is to make connection really easy. And so right at the outset, it's like 3 steps to get started, super basic. On the inside, there's 2 decks of cards. One is intended to make engagement really easy. There's quotes on one side of the deck and images on the other, and 10 plus different creative exercises that you can use with the quote side, the photo side, or both to make engagement really easy. One of the things I love about this deck and the picture side is that it makes conversations visible. I think, all good.
That's good. Okay.
The idea, the kit is so cool that Steven, the videographer, is literally falling off his chair behind the behind the scenes, making me laugh. So conversation is just air, right? And yet visual data and experiential data tend to log into our long-term memory. And so when you invite people to choose an image that represents a strength you bring to this team, all of a sudden the people in that team remember that image paired with that person much longer than maybe even they remember their name. Right, so having that visual, super powerful to be engaged cards. The next deck is We Connect cards. I created one of these decks a whole bunch of years ago to solve my own problem. I was leading a group of folks that were younger at the time. I was in grad school leading adventure trips for teenagers. And you get a teenager to talk to each other, it looks really awkward. And so I just asked myself, what could I put in between those 2 people and help that go better? And what came out was really simply a deck of beautiful, ultra simple question cards. And so my favorite exercise to do with this deck that I have led actually with over 100,000 people is called a question swap, where everybody in the group gets a card. You pair up just one-on-one, ask each other the question. And when you're done with that one private conversation, you swap cards and toss your hand in the air, signaling that you're looking for somebody new to pair up with. It is this magical exercise that I have led in an arena with 6,000 people and in a small group workshop with 30 executives. It just works really well because there's so much autonomy and choice in how people are sharing, what conversations they're diving into, how long they're staying in conversations, etc. This is just like magic box. Then you get the roadmap, Connection Toolkit roadmap with all these ideas, a couple written versions on how to use the cards along with the masterclass and all the QR codes. And lastly, my late co-founder, Will Wise, and I co-wrote Ask Powerful Questions. And it's this really has this really thoughtful framework that I'll share with you. That if you are committed to creating a culture of connection, belonging, and trust, the book is structured in this way of like, on the light gray side, if you could wave a magic wand and just create that in your group, this video wouldn't need to exist, and that would be really awesome. But unfortunately, that magic wand doesn't exist. And so the book is just packed with really practical ideas and strategies on how to create, get ready for it, or how to amplify connection, belonging, and trust. I hope you enjoyed this unboxing. If you do want to pick up this 100 plus fresh group exercises, awesome for groups of all sizes, infinite connections possible, I would be so happy to get this shipped off to you, and there's probably a link somewhere around it. If you just want to dabble, there's free printable versions of the cards and a whole bunch of other resources. I believe that ideally information should be free and accessible to everyone, and then the actual stuff and experiences is something that you choose to exchange value for. This was an absolute blast hanging out with you in cyberspace, teaching one of the things that I am absolutely most passionate about, connection before content. Go get the kit, or don't. Have an awesome day.